So if you've gotten this far, congratulations. You have established a OneNote notebook and it is stored in your Office 365 account, in your OneDrive account. And as you add content to your notebook, it's going to automatically sync and save all of your changes to OneDrive as long as you're on a computer that has web access and you constantly have that internet access. If you notice over here on the left-hand side of my notebook name, I have that little green arrow that keeps going, blinking back and forth. That indicates that it is saving changes. I'm currently not doing anything at the moment, but it is saving any changes that I might add to this particular page. Before I go into the layout and the navigation of OneNote, I just want to flip back over to our Moodle course. I think this image is going to give you the best idea of how OneNote is laid out and exactly what the purpose of it is. So OneNote is very much like the physical version of a tabbed notebook. When you were in school, if you had a 3-subject notebook or a 5-subject spiral-bound notebook, you had various tabbed sections in your notebook, and then within each tabbed section, you had individual pages. OneNote is a digital version. It's basically the same thing. The difference is that because this is digital, OneNote will allow you to create as many sections as you need in your notebook and as many individual pages within each notebook. And of course, the other added benefits is that you can add all kinds of digital content to your OneNote notebook, such as video, audio, hyperlinks, screenshots. You can tag things so that make your notebook searchable. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you a little basic navigation of OneNote just so you see where everything is, and then we're going to start adding content to it. So I'm going to come back over to my notebook, and right over here, as we saw in the picture before, it says Untitled Section. Sections are your tabs. Think of those colored tabs on a physical spiral-bound notebook. And over here we have an untitled page. So you're going to have to think about in your notebook what sections, how do you want to organize and divide up your notebook. Everybody's notebook is going to look different. If you're doing something for school, this might be different topics, or if you're an elementary teacher, it might be the different subjects you teach. If it's your own personal notebook, use your discretion to figure out how you want to divide up your notebook. I'm going to start creating some sections for my notebook, and I think I'm going to divide mine by the technology area that I'm teaching. So let's say, for instance, here in my first section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this section. To rename any section, what you're going to do is right-click on that section, and you're going to get the first option that says Rename. And I'm going to call this Edmodo. So here, this is my Edmodo section, and I am on the first page of my Edmodo section. So if I want to rename this first page in Edmodo, I can do the same thing. I can right-click on it, and I can click Rename. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the name of this page. Another way to name this page is to simply just type it directly on this page, and it will change the page over here. So we're going to call this Basics. So that's the first page in my Edmodo notebook. If I needed to create a second page in Edmodo, I can click on Add Page, and I know I'm going to be adding a page in the Edmodo section because this is the section I'm currently clicked on. So if I click on Add Page, I can now add a second page. And again, you can name it here, or you can simply type on the line that's provided for you. So we're going to put in here login information. So I now have a second page in my notebook. Now let's say I want to create another section in my notebook, a entirely different topic. So we're going to click on Office 365. I now have another section. You can see it's going to also give you a different color coding for each of your sections to make them easier to find. And then I can start creating individual pages for this particular section in my notebook. I'm just going to create the rest of my sections right now. We'll call this Discovery Ed, and then we'll call this the Tim Tebow section. Even though it has nothing to do with technology, it's going to be an important section in this notebook. So I have my sections, and all you have to do to click on each one to get to another section, and then again, if I want to add a specific page to my Discovery Ed, all I need to do is type it in on the line and hit enter, and it's there. So I have all my 4 sections, and I have some pages in a few of these sections, and I can create additional pages. I can create as many pages as I need in each section and add a title to it. So one of the first things you're going to be doing this week, in addition to creating your notebook and your notebook name, is what I'd like everybody to do is to create at least 4 to 6 sections in your notebook and create a few pages in your notebook. You're going to have to think about which sections you want to have. If you need to rename anything, you can right click on any section or any page and you can click rename, and that will allow you to rename it. If you want to change the order of anything, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. But if I wanted to move this, what I can do is click and drag. So what I'm doing is I'm holding down my left mouse button and I'm dragging it, and you can see a little arrow pop up, and I can drag it and I can drop it into another area. And now Edmodo is the second section and Office 365 is the first section. So this is one of the first things that you're going to work on.